The protection of children must be prioritized. That's the plea of child's rights activist Dr. Shahida Omar on the eve of Child Protection Week. She says government, civil society organizations and the public should double efforts to ensure children's rights are upheld. Now, Child Protection Week kicks off tomorrow under the theme, Let Us Protect All Children to Move South Africa Forward.
A day that is celebrated for children to honor and validate and recognize children. And yet I just came from a children's dialogue now at the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. And it was actually sad to listen to all the voices, because the stories that were shared where 10 or 15 children are still sharing a single textbook. Children do not have access to healthy drinking water. Children continue to be murdered. We're finding that 41% of children that are raped over this past, 41% of rapes that are committed against children. So indeed, this is a very, very alarming response from the voices of children. We are 25 years into the democracy, and we still are looking at Child Protection Week where children's rights are not protected. Children cannot play in play areas. They're not safe walking back and forth to school. They're not safe at school. They're not safe at home. So what do we actually say about Child Protection Week? Because in the past, what we've experienced is that government departments are working in silos. They're not even communicating with each other. Each one has their own policy in place, legislation, and we find that there's actually anomalies as well there. And if we do not come to the party where there's no collaboration and collective action, we are going to fail our children. And one of the 4 pillars is talking about child survival. We are going to kill all our children. We will not have a future nation.
Well, joining me now to discuss the concerns of young children is the Speaker of the Children's Parliament, Dominic Murtonton. Dominic, thanks a lot for joining us on Newsnight this evening. I feel like you should be the other side because you're 16 and you're taking on television. I love it. Tell me about Children's Parliament. I mean, what's so significant about it as a participant?
As a participant, the platform and the opportunity to go forth in such a serious environment is honestly, it's huge, especially for children who've been ignored and overlooked for so many years.
Yeah.
The Children's Parliament provides us with the opportunity to use the adults' tools, to speak to the adults, to communicate our problems and make sure that our message is getting forward in an orderly and appropriate fashion.
Before I ask you whether or not the adults are actually listening to you, let's talk about some of those issues that have been put on the table. I mean, you're 16, correct? Yeah. So as a 16-year-old, and I'm sure you represent as a Speaker of Parliament those that are 16 and even way younger as well. So those issues that have been put on the table for us adults to actually heed the cry to, what are some of those issues that have become top of mind? Today, let me tell you a little story. Today I attended a celebration of sorts. The Children's Parliament has just launched its Children's Manifesto. Outlined in there are our 4 main issues: child participation, child development, child survival, and child protection. Outlined within these are the main issues the children face, as you've pointed out, such as the high mortality rates, educational issues, violence against children, the effects of poverty and hunger, etc., etc. It is basically the greatest exacerbations on the degradation of children. Yeah, and do you feel as though by having these platforms, because you're saying that you've got platforms that are adult platforms, or you're able to communicate with adults, are the adults listening? I mean, are they hearing you, or is it just, or do you feel as though it's almost like a tick box, like, yeah, we attended Children's Parliament and that gives us a reason to feel good about ourselves on this Thursday?
Honestly,
let's have an honest conversation.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. Let's have an honest conversation. So that the adults are listening right now. So let's have an honest conversation.
Whenever we have these events, there will be one political party present, and that one political party will use that as an opportunity to say, where are the others? Instead of listening and saying, well, this is what we can do. This is who we can approach. This is what we are willing to do for you.
child's rights and all of the events that we launch are more of an opportunity for exposure for most political parties. I don't believe that we're taken seriously. I mean, if you're going to look at it on a broader scale, children need to be taken into presidency. At the moment, all of our issues are handled by the Department of Social Development. And what that implies is that children's issues are a social issue, which they are not. There is a phrase that is thrown around very often, children are the future. And while it is a very powerful statement, but you've got to question the powers that be and say, but are you ensuring that there is a future? You know, you want leaders, but there must be something to lead.
Yeah.
So ultimately, I believe the only time we'll be taken seriously is when child's rights is taken into presidency, into the Premier's office, into the Mayor's office, taken broad.
Then how do you start mobilizing young people, like 16-year-olds and 18-year-olds, to start taking some of those issues to you know, the mayor's office or the presidency, and how then do you start calling them out? And you must call them out. Which political party is the only one that attends? Do you only have, we've got one political party that attends. Who attends?
DA.
The DA is the only one that attends. Shame on you. Shame on you for not attending Children's Parliament as well. So the DA is the only one that attends. Yeah. That's a problem. So for the mere fact that you're on national television calling them out, it means that you're doing something about it. So tell me, how are you going to then just push this agenda more and more? Because the more you talk about it, the more they'll hear you. Already now they're scared because they thought, shucks, this girl went on to national television, told everybody that the DA is the only one that is attending Children's Parliament.
Here I am to call you out.
There you go.
An important message that we like to push is that education is liberation.
Yeah.
If you educate children on their rights and the platforms that they have and the ears willing to listen, they'd be more inclined to talk. You know, you've got to have ears to listen if you're willing to talk. I believe that exposing children and minors to this is really, really important. And so our awareness campaigns and whatnot need to be taken broader. It needs to be established in schools. It needs to be on the media. It needs to be all over.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Child Protection Week. But I can assure you, in a couple of months, there will be nothing on this. There will be nothingness, silence completely. In South Africa, it seems to be a trend. Whenever something is at the height of media, then and then only will it be spoken on. But thereafter, nothing happens. And what's important is to ensure that something does happen, that the waves continue to travel, and that they travel far.
Monique, you know, I let you speak. Usually I would interrupt, but I let you speak. You know why I let you speak? Because you're so darn articulate, and you've just said your point around children so well. And I think that any child that has got you representing them is a very fortunate child indeed. And well done for coming on a platform where many people would find intimidating and sharing your truth. You shared your truth, and I think that for the mere fact that you're brave enough to share your truth is what's going to make you a formidable leader. I'm very proud of you, not only as a young person, but as a girl child. A girl child was able to, against everything, share her truth. High five to you. I like girls like that. Well done. Okay, so I think that it's going to be successful, and well done for calling everybody out there as well.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Absolute pleasure. Leaders, they're all everywhere. We've got Dominique Mortenton, who is speaking to us about Child Protection Week as well as the plight of children. There you have it, calling you out on political parties who are not attending Children's Parliament. While